Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Paige Show. So for those of you who are part of my story personally or have been following what we're doing here on The Paige Show, you know that I have talked a lot about what's happened in my personal story this past year, and Spirit has just really shook a lot of things up for us, for my family, for friendships and relationships. I've had to really dive deep into areas that I thought were already resolved. And as you do more work on yourself, energetically or personally, there are great examples of this where you think, I've arrived at the heaviest weight I could possibly lift with this, in the physical world. If you think about yourself at the gym, and then maybe you give yourself a month break, or you come back from an injury and you notice that you can come back even stronger. And then spirit-wise, that really delves deep into shadow work. And, I thought I resolved this issue. It hasn't been something on the forefront of my mind or anything that I've felt like I needed to face again, and then all of a sudden it creeps back up, maybe with a different name or face or situation on it, but the same feeling of that being like a soul lesson or something, a deep soul memory that you have to, again, purge comes up. And it's really like the old saying is, we just keep going around the same mountain. We don't want to keep going around the same mountain. And I'm starting to realize the more that I'm on this journey of evolvement, like the rest of you, I'm constantly learning. I am constantly evolving myself and my practice. And if you worked with me back in 2015, there will be things that in 2021 I probably view differently. I mean, it's all an evolution. And so the beauty is the people who've been on the journey with me since day one really get to see that and how it has shaped my life and will shape theirs when they're part of the story. But it can be frustrating when we viewed it all of this time as we just keep going around the same mountain. I've said it to clients, like, you're faced with the same experience with a different face on it. Like, relationships are a good one. You keep picking the same type of person and you just get frustrated and you're like, why have I not learned this lesson? I don't want to keep being faced with this. But really, the more that I dive into like my soul being decoded and deeper numerology chart soul readings or shamanic practices, I just got my master certification in that, and I've been doing that work since 2015, so it's really, really deep in my soul. Things open up pretty quickly. I just noticed that my perception's changing a little bit on going around the mountain, where it's more like a spiral that, we're at the bottom of the spiral when we're born, and the spiraling is your journey all the way up till we can go back home, till we've reached what our agreed level of higher consciousness is, and we can be back with spirit. And so if a spiral, if you look at it as a inverted cone and the base being, the wide base at the bottom, you're spiraling, which is what we've said was going around the mountain. It's never, ever that you stop spiraling or that you stop going around the mountain, but each time that you hit a new lesson, maybe it's not about us defeating it or purging it, or the idea that we failed because we faced that situation again, but instead it's that every time you face it, you're just shedding another little layer of skin. Can really feel like that sometimes. You're shedding another part of you, another belief system, another stigma on your life, another, whatever, emotional piece of yourself, or emotional belief, or a standpoint on others, right? It's just everything that, if you could think of everything that is part of you and the contract that you signed up to be here and serve out with on this earthly plane, it's just so many layers, the most layers that an onion could possibly have. We talk about peeling back the layers of an onion, and some onions will make you cry and some won't, right? Some of those layers are soft and tough and thin or thick, all of that. That's who we are. And if you translate that to the spiral, we start spiraling from the day that we're born, the day that we agree to enter this earthly plane being on this side of the veil. And instead of feeling like we have failed, I want us to start switching that in our mind and saying, every time we're faced with another lesson that seems familiar, it's going to take away another layer. It's going to make that lesson lighter. It's going to make my soul lighter. And we talk about vibrations and energy. If you listen to some of my other episodes, I'm really working on changing the verbiage from being a low vibration or high vibration to heavy or light or rock or a feather, because it doesn't really it doesn't accept or bring on any negative feelings. It's something's heavy or it's light, right? Instead of I'm low and you're high, and so, maybe I'm good or you're bad kind of thing. So if you think about that, it's just making your contract and your soul on a deeper level as we spiral. It's making that lighter. And the lighter you are, like that feather, the higher your vibration, your consciousness, all of that is lighter, right? And just think about going to the top of that spiral. We want to get to the top. It's very symbolic of your chakra centers in your body. We want to get that crown area opened up. We want to be able to think of that white light or whatever speaks to you bursting out of the top of your head and entering into the divine and all of the different energy, unseen, untangible realms that are even above your crown chakra, right? It doesn't just stop there because we're all connected. So, if you think about that, the spiral that we start on from day one, when we take our first breath in this physical world, is really not about failures or achievements or I'm good or you're bad, your load is lighter or mine's heavier. It's that we're just supposed to do the spiral. We're supposed to see it for what it is. And every time something circles back in your life that reminds you of something you don't like about yourself or brings up something you want to run away from, that's the sure sign that it's a shadow piece of you. Sometimes it's something you want to run towards, and that also can be a shadow piece of you. And you have to delve deep and see what is the lesson and supposed to learn from this to be able to shed this layer of my contract, of my soul, right? Because as I spiral upward, I have to get lighter to fly. And I saw that vision in a dream last night, and I just I really couldn't wait to get up this morning and record this because it was just so vivid with, my animals coming around and flying around and being on this mountain, because I've always used the going around the mountain analogy, but then it just turned into this white, spiral, energetic, upside down ice cream cone. All of the things that I love, right? Spirit knows how to get our attention. And as I was watching in the dream, what was the example of my little soul, like this little white, ethereal looking being kind of going up this spiral, they were showing me in the dream, where I kind of was on that spiral in my life. And then they translated that to a bird has to be lighter. The bones in a bird are often hollow. It allows them to be lighter to fly. Think about the physical world, what we have to do and how we manufacture planes for them to be able to fly, or boats, right? There's so many examples in our life if we stop and think about the synchronicities or the reasons behind how something works. It really is all connected. And in my dream, they used some of my spirit animals, the eagle and the owl, to talk about how we have to be lighter to be able to get to the top, to get to that higher vibration frequency that we all really are here to do, despite if this sounds like complete crap to you and it is not your truth yet. This is what we're all here to do. We're contributing to it in different ways. And the roles that you see out in the world that seem like they're more negative or heavy, they all have their role in this. And so no matter if it's a situation or person that feels like it's a lighter, heavier load in our spiral, we just have to trust it. We have to keep going through the spiral experience called life and get lighter. Evolve with each situation. We do that by simply just being, living through it, deciding that we're going to bring awareness to a situation to learn from it and not let it just defeat us or just leave scars. Despite the fact that many of them leave scars, we come back from the scars. If we're going to get a scar from it, it better be good, right? That's what I always try to joke with my kids about. Like, man, if you went all in on that bike jump, you better be ready for that scar. And if the scar happens, get back up because you're going to keep riding that bike because you knew what you were getting into, right? There's just so many lessons in our lives where we can see that, just how our personalities function. We are going to get some scars along the spiral, but we just keep moving through them, and we let that awareness of the scar be a memory of what we learned from it. And so that lightens our load as we keep going up the spiral until eventually we're at the top and we're light as a feather. We're like the bird that can then look down at this life, very symbolic of your review when you're on the other side after you've exit this human experience. You can just look down on what your beautiful spiral consisted of, what your life really consisted of, and all of the things that you faced that really got you to the top of your spiral, got you truly connected to source, truly to that higher level of consciousness or higher vibration, lighter vibration, all of the words. Okay. So that's the spiral today. That's what inspired this episode today. And I hope that that left you with some really great visions for your life, maybe a better understanding to help with less frustration when you're faced with what seems like the same things with a different face on it. Now you can actually just say, I know what that is, and it's all part of the spiral, and I'm just going to keep going. And as I do, I'm going to trust that I keep getting lighter, things keep getting lighter until eventually I am free like the eagle to fly around and see all of the great things that I got to leave behind with my mark on humanity by walking out the spiral or my contract.